Today we're beginning a new series called Find Joy in the Present. It's obviously a play on words as we approach the holidays. And for those of you that are mad that Christmas is in the air already, can I just offer you some pastoral words of encouragement and exhortation? Stop being a Scrooge. I'm not trying to eliminate Thanksgiving. But we had a hectic, emotionally draining few months, and I don't know about you, but I'm ready for the holidays. I'm ready to slow down, spend some time with family. I realize some of you don't even like your family, and I apologize for that, but I like most of mine, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with them. How many of you are waiting until Thanksgiving is over to talk about Christmas kind of people? Nobody, stop. Nobody's clapping. You're like, you can't. So I want to get this thing started. We're going. How many of you are already playing Christmas music in your house? A few of us. We started last week. We watched the Santa Claus together as a family, and we're playing Christmas music. Monday, Katie and I were in a store. They were playing some Christmas music, and I wasn't sad about it at all. How many of you play Christmas music in the summer? A few of us are just like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, try this as an experiment. Next time you're just like grumpy and, just, you know what I mean? You got a terrible attitude. Just throw on some Christmas music and see what happens. Like the atmosphere, it's like be like April and you're like Christmas music. You're like, whoa. All right, whatever. Let's keep moving. I love the Thanksgiving versus Christmas memes. Anybody see any of those? I downloaded a few of those for us today, just to have a little humor. Let's show this first one. I can't remember what order they're in. There we go. This is the one. All right. So if you can't tell, obviously it's November and it's December, and everything is circled from November 1st until Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month, or the fourth Wednesday of the month, and that's Christmas. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is Thanksgiving. And then it's back to Christmas until the end of December. And so if you're confused on how the calendar works, this is it. I know it's kind of blurry. Let's go to the next one. December, fat boy. This month is my holiday. Now hop on that sleigh and wait your turn. Let's go to the next one. For every Christmas light lit before Thanksgiving, an elf kills a baby reindeer. What do we have after that? You can't listen to Christmas music before Thanksgiving. Do you hear what I hear? That's my favorite one. Is there another one? Oh yeah. Told dinner will be at 6 p.m. Arrives at 10:30 a.m. Oh, that one didn't hit. That one did. Go back to the reindeer one. That last one didn't go. That's good. You can bring that down. Okay. Muchas gracias. I love Christmas. I love the holidays. This series really, again, it's a play on words. And the theme is really going to be about contentment. Finding joy in the present. We're often so anxious to just rush past moments, right? We're always in a hurry to get to the next thing. Anybody ever feel that way? We've talked about this in passing many times, but we often just leave no margin in our lives. And so we're always in a hurry. We're always running late. I got to go. I got to get to the next thing. And as Paul said, in regard to some things I would agree with, in that light, I am the chief sinner. Always rushing, always in a hurry, always going to try to get to the next thing. I'm guilty of that often. You don't realize how fast time goes until the memory pops up on your phone from yesterday, or at least it feels like yesterday. And then you're like, what just happened? You're looking at a memory of your 2-year-old with a pacifier while you're sitting in line to pick them up from first grade or second grade. And you're like, where did the time go? We have a blended family. I have a 25-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so I have the benefit of looking back and going, man, this is going to go so quick. You blink and they're a baby, or they go from a baby to first grade. You blink again, they're in middle school. You blink again, they're graduating high school. It just goes so quick. And I love the quote from Andy Stanley. He says, the days are long, but the years are short. When you're in the moment and you're just doing the thing, you're doing the daily grind, it feels like, gosh, is this day ever going to end? And you just turn around and it's gone. I'm saying to us today that we need to find joy in the present. Find joy in the mundane. Find joy in the diaper changes and the toys spread all across the floor. Joy in the messy house and the trail of socks and shoes and the backpack after school that follows all the way down the hallway, because it doesn't take long and all of that is gone. We have to find joy and contentment with the present. Now, before we go any further, we should probably clearly define what contentment is. So contentment is this: it's the state of being contented. Feeling or showing satisfaction with one's possessions, their status, or their situation. Some synonyms of the word contentment or being contented is gratified or happy, pleased, satisfied. I mean, how many of you would agree that pretty much sums up our culture? Yeah, I know that was sarcasm. Good job. We're not laughing on that. When you look around, what do you see? People are not happier. They're not pleased. They're not more satisfied. I used to tell a lot of fast food drive-through stories in the early days of our church. If you were here during those, it was almost weekly. I had a story about what not to do and how not to act in public if you are a Christ follower. This year's been different for me. I haven't really had fast food that much since we did our fast in January. I haven't been perfect, but McDonald's used to be a staple in my life. Anybody else have McDonald's problems? Nobody wants to admit it. Everybody's just like, whatever. Anyway, I haven't eaten McDonald's in almost an entire year. Which is a pretty big deal for me. Speaking of memories and things that pop on your phone, 3 years ago, I don't know where I was supposed to be going. I don't know what I was doing, but I just drove to McDonald's. And I think I have a video of this, and so anyway, I did. So I'm going to show this one more dumb video, and then we're going to move on with the rest of the content.
I just drove to McDonald's on accident, out of habit. Not today, Satan. Not today.
No idea. I slow-moed the video to see it was like 11:50 p.m. I was like, where was I going? Where did I think I was going that I just drove straight to McDonald's? And I was like, oh, wait, I don't even, whatever. Nobody else has that problem, I guess. All right, the reason I even say that at all is the last time I spoke on contentment was several years ago. And I remembered while I was preparing for the message, I was deep into my fast food lifestyle. And I was at Taco Bell, and I was literally listening to another message from another pastor about being content as part of my preparation for the series that we were about to go into. And the guy in front of me was taking so long. And I was getting so mad. It's one of those moments where I'm rolling down the window and I'm sticking my head out. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Just order a taco and a Mexican pizza and go on. I was just so upset and so mad. He's driving a Suburban. I was like, you must be ordering food for the entire city. I don't know what you're doing. But the point that I'm trying to make, the reason I tell that story is I was listening to and trying to work on contentment in my own life in preparation to bring a sermon on it. And I'm sitting behind this guy and my life is just complete discontentment on the inside, which is really a descriptor of a lot of our lives. Whether we're talking about fast food or traffic or any other scenario, we're always in a hurry and we're discontent with our present circumstances. The other day, Katie and I were at the hospital again. There's a lot of folks there that we've been visiting, and we pushed the elevator button, and I don't know what was taking so long. And so we finally got tired of waiting, and we went around the other side, and we pushed another elevator button, and as soon as we pushed that button, the one down the hall, the door opened up. We could have just stayed there, but just discontent with the situation, not able to just rest and to wait. Listen to the antonyms or the opposite of contentment: discontent, displeased, dissatisfied, unhappy. I mean, doesn't that more clearly describe our culture? When's the last time you just bumped into somebody who was just happy for no reason? Like, we don't. And we don't, also as Christ followers, we're not exuding that either. And unfortunately, I think that these are the words that most often describe our culture. It just seems like people are just in general displeased and unhappy. And as a result, our default has become discontentment. Like we don't even go into situations expecting them to be good. Like we're unhappy before we even get there. I'll go to church today, but it's probably not going to be good. He's probably going to tell a lot of stupid jokes. I'll go to the new restaurant in town, but the service will probably not be good. The food will probably be terrible. I'll go to the beach, but it's probably going to rain. I'm not going to enjoy myself. It's just always we go into things with that state of mind. And our cultural climate is only priming the pump of our discontentment. But why? Because it's in the best interest of political commentators and news networks and social media companies to keep the pot stirred. Why? Because there's big money to be made when we, the people, are not content. When we're content, or when we're not content, when we're not content, we consume more. When we're not content, we buy more stuff. I don't like my TV, so I'll buy a new one. I don't like my phone, so I got to get a new one. I don't like my car, so I got to get a new one. Our culture profits off of discontentment. Katie and I have a saying that we use often, and it's when we're about to purchase something, we're trying to decide, is this something we need or something we want? We actually say that out loud. Is this a need or is this a want? And it allows us a moment to pause and process what we're doing. I love this quote from Dave Ramsey. He says, we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people that we don't like. Let's stop that. I mean, think about that for a moment. Isn't that how we live our lives? Quoting from Andy Stanley again, he says this regarding contentment. The problem is not what we have or don't have. It's the awareness of what we could have. The awareness of what we could have. It's not that there's something wrong with my iPhone 15. It's that I'm now aware that there's an iPhone 16 with Apple Intelligence and I really need that. It's not that I need a new television. I mean, think about the progression of television, right? There was standard definition, 480 pixels. And then high def or HD was introduced at 720 pixels. And then full HD at 1080p, right? And then UHD, ultra high definition 4K, 2160p. And then 8K, 4320p. Now it goes even higher, HDR, high dynamic range. Our eyes reach a point of diminishing returns when it comes to resolution once we get to about 4K, 2160. In other words, after 4K, our eyes can't even distinguish the difference. That's right. And yet we're selling TVs now that are 2 generations beyond 4K because it's got to be better. I can't tell the difference, but I need it. Where does the awareness of what we have come from? It's a great question. I'm glad you asked. I want to show you the graphic from a series we did several years ago called Contentment. And we highlighted the front end of the word, contentment. And I want to submit to you today that the content that we're consuming is directly related to our contentment or discontentment. This is why that you can't be perfectly happy with your iPhone 15. Because it can be in good condition, it can be working fine. But the moment that you hit that ad for the iPhone 16, now you know. There's something else available. There's something better than what I have. And that stirs inside of me discontentment. I'm not here to talk about advertising, although there's probably some great value in having some conversations about not getting sucked into the trap of constantly upgrading. The purpose of this message is to challenge us to take a hard look at the content that we're consuming. But when we're constantly being told that what we currently have isn't good enough, we'll always be looking for the next best thing. We'll never find joy in the present because we're constantly being told that joy's not here, it's out there somewhere. Our lives are a product of what we consume. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, what am I consuming? What am I consuming? This question applies to all areas of our lives. And we've spoken about this many times, but just as God is a triune being, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we too are 3 in 1. We are a spirit. That's the real us that's going to live forever. We have a soul. Our soul, biblically speaking, is described as our mind, our will, and emotions, and we live in a body. We are a spirit, we have a soul, or we have a mind, will, and emotions, and we live in a body. And so the question, what am I consuming, is really a 3-part question. Because we can only reproduce what we're putting inside of us. In other words, our output is directly related to our input. If you reverse engineer that based on how you're feeling, you can ask yourself, is my life full of worry and anxiety and fear? Then there's a good chance you're probably watching too much cable news. Do you feel bad physically, tired, low energy, stiff? It could be that you're getting older. It wasn't a joke, that's true. But more often than not, it's that we have poor eating habits. So poor that you just drive to restaurants for no reason and go, why am I even here? We don't exercise. The input is producing something negative. We could collectively come up with all kinds of scenarios, but simply put, the contentment in your life is directly related to the content that you are consuming. Let's look at the words of King Solomon, considered the wisest man who ever lived. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Guard your heart, because everything you do flows from within. The New American Standard Version says it this way, watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. Watch or guard your heart. In this passage, the heart speaks to the inner man or the soul, your mind, your will, and emotions. Diligence means steady or earnest or energetic effort. And so when we read this, we read it as earnestly guard your heart. In other words, put a lot of effort into guarding your heart. And that's part of it, but it's not the entire picture. The Hebrew word for guard is mishmar. And it means this, a place of confinement or prison, jail, or observance or watch. And so, yes, guard your heart earnestly. But the Hebrew implication is to put our hearts on lockdown. Why? Because what flows out of it, everything flows out of our heart. It says it springs forth, right? That means to go out, to come out, to exit, to go forth. In other words, what goes in is what's going to come out. But if I'm guarding my heart and I'm not allowing those things in, then they don't have the possibility of coming out. What did Jesus say? Rivers of living water would flow from within us. We're supposed to bring fresh water to those who are thirsty. But if we allow our hearts to become polluted because we're focused on the wrong things, then instead of bringing fresh water, we end up bringing bitter, sour waters of discontentment. Right? We mentioned this last week. James, the half-brother of Jesus, said fresh water and salt water should not flow from the same spring. The reality is this, is that discontentment is really a symptom of selfishness. Now, I'm not talking about like holy discontentment where there's this God-given desire to be all that God's called you to be, or where deep inside you long for more because you sense the drawing of the Holy Spirit to go deeper. When I say discontentment is a symptom of selfishness, I'm saying that because discontentment is always focused on me and what I don't have and what I want. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. Nothing you put in the bucket will ever satisfy, will ever fill the bucket. Why? Because there's holes in the bucket. The newest iPhone will soon be the old model. The car you so desperately want will soon need maintenance. The new outfit that you can't live without will soon be out of style. But the more that we try to fill our selfish desires, the more discontent we become. This didn't make me content, maybe that will. Oh, that didn't work, maybe this will. Oh, that didn't work either. Maybe I should do what so-and-so is doing. Maybe I should get what they have. Maybe I need what this person has so that I can find happiness. What did Jesus have to say about this? Matthew chapter 6, verse 19. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moths and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And then he says this, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. If your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is the darkness? In other words, the things that we're looking at, the things that we're listening to, the content we're consuming determines the contentment in our lives. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be healthy. Stop looking at things around you to find contentment. Jesus says, don't store up treasures on earth, store up treasures in heaven. Everything about our culture is geared to self. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. The music we listen to, the television shows we watch, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, X, whatever it's called, Netflix, Hulu. It's all geared to satisfy our selfish desires. But Jesus starts off saying, don't store up treasures on earth. Focus on storing treasures in heaven. And then he says, whatever your eyes are fixated on determines the health of your life. It's simple. It's not complicated. We don't have to do a deep dive. What's the saying we say all the time? It's not that we need more information. We need to do something with the information that we already have. We're always, again, looking for the next best thing, looking for the next great advice. How can I get this way? How can I do that way? Listen, focus on what Jesus says to focus on, and your life will turn around. Again, really, this is a call to evaluate the content that we are consuming. What is it that you're most concerned about? Does it always revolve around you? Galatians 6:8, whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. If all we're doing is pleasing ourselves and pleasing ourselves and pleasing ourselves, our lives will never find contentment. We will always be looking to find that one thing to make us happy, that one thing that will satisfy, that one thing, if I could just get to this place in my life, if I could just get this much savings or this much money in the bank, if I could just get to this next level, this position at work, if I could just own my own house, if I could just get that degree, then I'd get all this stuff behind me. If I could just fill in the blank, joy is somewhere out there to be had. But God, I believe, wants us to find joy in the present. When we pursue those things, the joy that God offers us will never happen. The secret to living a life of contentment is to minimize or eliminate the sources that are constantly feeding us negativity. A steady diet of content pointing out what you don't have will always produce discontentment. Always. Remember the quote from earlier, the problem is not what we have or don't have, it's the awareness of what we could have. How many times have you either heard someone say, or maybe said yourself, I grew up poor, I just didn't realize I was poor because everyone around me was also poor? Anybody ever heard that? Anybody explain your life? Like you had a great childhood and you look back, you're like, man, I was dirt poor. You didn't know. You just loving life because you weren't aware that there was something else that could be had. If you've ever been to a third world country, Katie and I have been to Haiti. I've been there a few times, and it's amazing sometimes when you encounter a village or a neighborhood, so to speak, where they've experienced Jesus. And they have nothing, but the joy that they have is just like, and I'm looking at them through my American lens going, you, like, literally walking miles to get clean water, but joy in their life, but us, we're so exposed to so many things. You need this, you need this, you need this, you need this. I know I beat the social media horse a lot last week in regard to the things that we post and how they can misrepresent Christ. But there's also danger in the social media space with the comparison game. Right? We all know it, but we just keep consuming it anyway. Comparing our real lives to the highlight reel of someone else often breeds inside of us discontentment. Let's go back to James, the half-brother of Jesus, James 3:16. He says, for where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and every evil practice. Envy, often fueled by comparison, is depicted as leading to disorder and spiritual unrest. James points out that comparing ourselves with others can stir envy, which pulls us away from the peace and the contentment that Christ wants to offer us. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6, but godliness with contentment is great gain. The Bible encourages us to focus on gratitude for what we have rather than longing for other possessions. When we become content with what God has given us, comparison loses its power over us. Because I just remain content. This is where, again, I'm not talking about a holy discontentment. I'm not talking about just like I'm never going to make myself better. This is all I got. This is what God gave me. This is it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about an unhealthy comparison game type of envy, just like I'm never satisfied. I have a car, but it's not good enough. Whatever the situation may be. As we head into the holiday season, it's easy to fall into the comparison game, the discontentment trap. My pastor in Gainesville one time, he did a message talking about gifts. And one of the things he said, he was talking about all the different kinds of gifts. And he was like, there's a gift for a gift. Like, I'm going to give you a gift because I know you're going to give me a gift. Like, I don't want to give you a gift, but I feel obligated that I forgot why I was telling you that. Just scratch that. Because the holidays, sorry. Whew. As we head into the holiday season, that's what I was talking about. It's like, you ever felt that pressure that you got to give because somebody's going to give to you? Or you got to give because of, somebody else is going to get them a really nice gift. And so if you don't compete with that, they're going to think less of you. This is a call for us to take inventory of the content that we are consuming. Look, I know we talk about this all the time, and it's so simple. But if the only time that you read or hear anything from Scripture is on Sunday, then you're going to be a very immature, weak, and selfish Christian at best. At worst, you'll starve your soul and wonder why you feel empty, dissatisfied, and discontent. You'll constantly be chasing joy and happiness, but it will always evade you because you think joy isn't something to be found in the present. It's always out there somewhere else. And if you're one of those people who are never satisfied, you'll always have to have more, the newest, the latest, the greatest. Maybe it's time to focus on someone else instead of yourself. Because when we come face to face with someone who's in real need, it often has a way of causing us to be like, you know what? Maybe I don't have it so bad. If you're one of those people who are never satisfied, never content, never fulfilled, if you never experience lasting joy, it's time to change your content consumption. I promise you, I'm making a promise, that if you will change your content consumption, you will change your contentment level. And so if you're in here today, or maybe today you're fine, but tomorrow when the daily grind starts and it's like, I hate my job, I hate this commute, I hate this person that sits next to me. I hate constantly filling our lives and our minds with all of the things that are contrary to the word. I promise you that if you'll change your contentment and make a decision to find joy in the present, that your life, your emotions will change. I know this is the third time I talked about this recently, but it wasn't too long ago that Katie yelled at me for being grumpy. I was complaining all the time. Those of you that don't know her know that she doesn't yell at anybody ever. So when I say that, it's always a joke. She's like, there's new people and they don't know. They think I abuse you. And this is not true. Anytime I share a story and it's negative about Katie, it's always sarcasm, all right? But she did. I was complaining a lot, right? We were doing soccer. And, if you've been around, you know that I like to I like to coach soccer and different sports with my kids because it gives me time with them. And it gives me an outlet to get out of this circle. I mean, some of you, some people that come in, they need God and they experience God and things like that. But by and large, this is a Christian bubble. And so getting out of that, out of here and over to the sportsplex and interacting with people that don't go to church gives me an opportunity to let my light shine. And I don't have a microphone. It's just my life, right? And so we approach it that way. Like in my heart, in my mind, I love spending time with my kids. But it's also an avenue to share our faith through our lives. And so, we talk about that a lot. But Katie was like, you're complaining all the time. You're making soccer not fun. Nobody enjoys it. I was like, I know, I'm not enjoying it. And she's like, yeah, everybody knows you're not enjoying it. This is supposed to be ministry. This is supposed to be all the things. I was very discontent with the first, 6 weeks of the season or however long, like the first almost half of the season. And I told you the story. The next morning at 6 something in the morning, I'm reading through and Paul says, don't complain about the things you do. And I was like, ugh. Katie's right. But that day, that moment, I made a decision. I was like, I'm not going to complain about this anymore. I'm not going to complain about it. What am I, and I was just like, you're just being ridiculous. Just go have fun. And that's what I did. And the rest of the season has been fantastic. I will say this, when I flipped the script and I repented for my bad attitude, it's been better. I haven't talked to Katie about it, but it's been better, hasn't it? Thank you. Out of that, within 2 weeks of that mind shift for me, we had an opportunity as a church to invest financially in a family that was hurting and broken out on the field. They were telling me their story, and I was just felt inside, we need to help them. And our theme this year is love your neighbor, and because of your generosity and all the things, we were able to do that. We were able to invest in somebody who had no idea it was coming. And when they got it, we gave them a check and to help them with their rent. They were in some transition, and they came to me. They didn't respond at all. We gave them a card. They didn't respond. And I was like, should I message them? Maybe they it may ever give you something, you stick it in a pocket and you forget about it. So I messaged them and I was like, hey, don't forget to open up your card. And they were like, okay, yeah, I will when I get a chance. I was like, all right, cool. They didn't open it. And then they never responded. And then the next day, they never responded. And the next day, they never responded. And I'm like, I need to, this is, there's money in there. I need to make sure that you get this. And so the next time we were at the soccer field, they came up to me and the husband came over as well. And he was like, we can't take this. We're fine. And they needed it for rent. And I was like, I want you to have it. We're going to help you with this through this transition. And they said, but we're going to be okay. Like they were going to get a payday loan just to coast them over. Because there was some transition and whatever. And these people volunteer and they serve the community and they're always investing in others. And they were like, we can't accept this. And I was like, listen, there's no strings attached to this. You don't have to come to our church. We just want to bless you because we felt like that's what God wanted us to do for you. And so reluctantly they accepted it. And while they stood there talking to each other, they're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take this, we're going to go down to Angel Tree, and we're going to find some families that don't have anything for Christmas, and we're going to be able to utilize and be able to, they needed it. So they were going to take what they needed and take the rest and begin to invest it in the community. And I was like, that's how you know that you're giving to the right kind of people, not people who are trying to burn the system down. Oh, I need you. I just called this church. Now I need this. And you know what I mean? And all of that happened, I believe, because of my flip in the attitude. It gave me an opportunity to minister when before I was so focused on myself and so focused on soccer, I gotta go. My discontentment level was affecting my ability to minister. So discontentment is directly connected to your content, and discontentment will directly affect your ability to minister to others. So maybe it's time to change your content consumption. Again, I promise you, if you change it, your life will change. I remember the first time I had satellite radio in my car, and I had ESPN radio. Colin Cowherd, before they moved him off of ESPN onto Fox, I listened to him every day, and all of the things. And it's just there was nothing bad, right? It wasn't bad to follow sports. But I found my life just after a few weeks of that was just dry and ugh. I just needed different content. And so I'm telling you something that I have walked through myself. If you'll shut those things off, even if they're not bad, and replace it with content from heaven, so to speak, I promise you, your satisfaction level with your life will change. Maybe it's time to take a break from social media. I already said last week, I have to stay off of it because people drive me crazy. Like it's just, so annoying. And I just get sucked right into it. So I have to keep that at bay. If I don't keep it at bay, it affects my life. Maybe you should turn off the news. Turn it off for a little while. Listen, nothing's gonna happen that you need to know that you're not gonna find out about. You know what I mean? If you're watching the countdown on who's getting in the cabinet, calm down, dude. You'll find out. You got 4 years. Who's he appointing for this? What does she say about that? Man, I don't know. You're gonna be okay, dude. Turn it off. I promise. And if anything bad happens, you'll know. Somebody's gonna call you and go, did you see it? Get in your bomb shelter. They're dropping them. Quick. Maybe you should take a break from that family member who's constantly sucking you into their drama. That's hard, right? Sometimes that's difficult. If it's your wife, then or your husband. Like, if it's your spouse, you got to figure that out. But there's elements of our life when you have people, and then you feel this obligation, like I have to be engaged in this because they're family. But your peace and your contentment is so valuable because it affects everything of your life. So maybe you should take a break. Again, you're not going to miss anything significant. Your peace and your contentment are too important to take this lightly. The more we focus on nourishing our souls with God's truth rather than the endless messages of what we're missing, the more that we will discover that joy is already here. And so the challenge for us today is let's commit to finding joy in the present. Joy isn't something to be found out there. Joy is something that we choose right here, right now.
On behalf of Pastor Randy and the entire staff at Everyday Church, we'd like to thank you for joining us today. For more information on the church, please visit us at everydaychurch.xyz.